Hello everybody, it's your old friends and Monday Madness, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Football Podcast.
Woo!
Always on cue, even when they're not in the room. Although it's only one person not in the room today, and that's Neil. Burkbot has been distracted by a elephant that walked past our house, and she's gone to chase it. So
she has chased it with a stick. Yes.
Yeah, stick. Yeah, not the best approach, I thought, but however,
yeah.
we won't question her methods. So anyway, Neil, we do fortunately have a lot to talk about. So where would you like to start?
Ooh, well, we'll start for what's interesting to me, because let's face it, it's all that matters.
Yeah,
Arsenal.
Okay, all right. You want to start with Arsenal? I suppose it's actually not been it's been a decent enough fortnight for you, results wise. 3-1 against West Ham, I believe, and 3-2 against Cardiff. So
yeah, 6 goals in two games. So the attack has finally clicked. In particular against against Cardiff, when Emery finally started the Aubameyang and Lacazette together at the same time.
Yeah, what a quaint thought. It's almost
and Ozil behind them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually missed the Cardiff game, so you'd have to fill me in on how it went.
It went actually quite well. As well as a 5-goal thriller possibly can.
Against Cardiff.
Yeah, well, it was a very, very thrilling game, and in all fairness, Cardiff came into this game being the only team in all 92 professional teams in England to have not scored a goal.
Which it sounds bad, really, when you say it like that.
It sounds bad, it's particularly when you realise that we'd just beaten West Ham 3-1, and Cardiff, having not scored a single goal, were still 2 points above them.
Yeah, that's it. It's called the Neil Warnock effect.
Absolutely. So, I think the one thing we can ascertain from this weekend is that, or since the start of the season, is that West Ham are shite.
Yes, we will get to West Ham, because I was going to do a slight rundown of the table. But before we do transition to that, about Arsenal then, you were saying there about the attack getting a good bit better, and obviously you're getting the goals to reflect that. 6 and 2. Well, actually, technically 8 and 3 is not bad going, really, considering the poor start. But for as much as Emery giveth, he doth take it away. You've also conceded 8 as well, and let's be fair, the defensive system has not been very good.
Well, it's a curious thing. I don't think it's much a case of Emery taking away. It's more a case of the players just not giving it to him.
Okay, that seems fair.
It does. It's a curious case that neither Mustafi nor Socrates, Mustafi actually scoring a fucking bullet of a header in the 11th minute.
That was actually a very good goal. I saw that.
In fact, actually, he should have scored before that. I think on the 8th minute, because he bulleted that header in the 11th. On the 8th minute, the ball was just bundled to him in the box, and he somehow managed to flick it over.
Mm-hmm.
So that while individually they're not bad defenders, they're fucking disastrous as a unit.
Yes.
Our midfield. The thing is, we're employing a system of bombing forward fullbacks. Well, one at least.
Mm-hmm.
But our midfield isn't actually covering the gaps that they invariably leave. I think it's kind of becoming more prevalent. We actually went more down the left side in the Cardiff game as opposed to the overwhelming right-hand side bias that we had in the West Ham game. And I think the reason for that is Mkhitaryan not being there for the Cardiff game.
Mm-hmm.
The overlaps between Mkhitaryan and Bellerin were very obvious for West Ham because Bellerin had somebody to just ping a 1-2 off half down the length of the fucking pitch.
Yeah.
And he had a midfielder who would run with him, track back and cover a bit.
Yeah,
whereas
of course, yeah.
Against Cardiff, the ball went to Xhaka more, and Xhaka moves out to the left of the central defenders a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's good though. There are 2 different ways of us playing, and we scored 3 goals playing each way. So I'm kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I suppose in a way, like at least it is good to see Arsenal playing a good bit differently to what you're now so used to. I think it's also that it is obviously the teething problems as well that comes with that. But the Arsenal.
Oh yes, and boy is Czech probably the oldest person on the face of the earth having teething problems.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's almost like his teeth fell out, and just by some sort of like genetic miracle, he's growing teeth back. But or maybe the false teeth have just been in there so long they've actually just stuck to the gums and have given like some sort of reverse pain. But the thing is, the real trouble here, the real trouble I'm having with Arsenal, kind of watching them, is that
there's not enough bills.
Well, the first time I was watching them, I was quite drunk at the time, so that actually checks out.
That's great.
But it does help. Yeah, I have to agree. Your system does work. But what I was going to say was that playing for the back still doesn't really suit the people in the back four, to a certain extent. Also, the kind of high line, I think, is going to take a little bit too much to get used to for players like Socrates, because I think Socrates isn't fast enough to try and maintain that high line, because you know how it works. Like, you're going to go up against a team that will just bomb forward and expose space, like the likes of Liverpool, Man City, all those type of teams that have pacey, wide players. And the problem with that is Socrates is going to be one of the slowest people on the turn. It's like going to be having Mertesacker again. Like, imagine having Mertesacker having to play that high line. It's you're asking for trouble, really. And then of course you have a player like Mustafi who's going to like move out of that line as well, creating even more space. So I still think there's tactical deficiencies in the defence. And even still looking at your midfield personnel, I don't think you've still quite got the midfield you need either. I know I'm kind of repeating what I said 2 weeks ago, but even with the attack improving and your scoring goals at least, there's just a little bit of inefficiency there that I feel like it could be rubbed out fairly well.
Sort of. It's the thing about Socrates. It's just what's weird about Socrates is that it's not real speed. It's more kind of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
In that they're excellent. Again, they're excellent defenders, but they're just not aware of what's going on around them. Like Mustafa, you mentioned Mertesacker. Mertesacker wasn't a bad defender.
No, he's not. That's the same.
Well, but he read the game so unbelievably. So I think Mertesacker could have played the high line quite well.
Maybe you could be right. I'm just saying he'd be very exposed. He'd be very exposed to someone pacey.
Yeah, he was better. Yeah, but he was often better with a quicker defender right next to him. Hence why Koscielny and Mertesacker was such a great partnership.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, the high line. I think more so than my concern is the central midfield pairing. Guendouzi and Xhaka just really isn't working. It's awful. And once again, when Torreira came on, everything just worked so much fucking better. I mean,
that's the second time that's happened, because even when he came on at the West Ham game, there was a vast improvement as well. Am I right in saying that?
Every time he's come on. It's happened every single time. He has to be starting now. Emery has his reasons for not starting Torreira up until now, and fuck it, I'll he's entitled to them. I'll even agree with them. He has them anyway. He doesn't after this match.
Yeah,
really, really doesn't. Torreira came on, racked up a load of intercepts, got an assist, a brilliant assist, and it's just shored everything up. I mean, to be honest with you, I'd field El Neni ahead of either Xhaka or potentially Guendouzi.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Guendouzi myself. Like, he does seem to be a very decent player that just kind of keeps things going. But at the same token, I would rather have someone like El Neni there, because at least with El Neni, you're getting a very good box-to-box player. And same thing with Torreira, I suppose. You can have those two players working in tandem, because it's worked quite well in the past for a lot of other teams. If you're looking for that midfield dynamo idea, two players that just keep constantly moving. Because a great example of that was Leicester with Kante and Drinkwater, and they both complemented each other quite well in that regard. So I think you can get something very similar if that's the midfield system you want. You can get something quite similar to that with El Neni and Torreira if you want it.
Absolutely, yeah. That is, then again, the whole thing with Cech is the most baffling kind of thing, in that he's just getting Cech to play a system that very, 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 very obviously just cannot do.
Yeah, it's just going to cost you.
I think what he's doing, and this was mentioned on one thread, and I kind of picked up on it, is that maybe he's just waiting for Cech maybe he's just playing this way and was hoping Cech can bail himself out, as opposed to dropping him.
So as in making sure, actually saying, oh look, he can't play the system now, I have a valid reason to put Leno in. But you've bought Leno, assuming that he's the replacement of Cech. So
Yeah, but it's still Czech's still pretty. Czech is still he's still an excellent shot stopper. He's still a very decent goalkeeper. But the thing is seeding him to number 2. That's pretty much permanent.
Yes, I see that.
He ain't coming. He's not coming back. And the problem is that I think he wants Czech himself to realise, look, man, we're playing the system and you cannot do it anymore.
Yeah. Which is a shame because it's quite unfair on him as a goalkeeper because, as I said, there's no actual problem with him being the goalkeeper. It's a problem with him being a footballer. And that's kind of the frustrating thing. Like, I think it's because things have moved on so much that keepers are now expected to play the ball more than they are basically to be keepers. And it's a kind of a shame in a way, but like a lot of goalkeepers are kind of fallen by that wayside now. You look at the likes of Joe Hart just dumped out because he can't do football, essentially. He's just there to basically as a shot stopper. That and his form is way down. But even at the early stage when Guardiola was in, he identified that Hart was not going to be his goalkeeper, so he just said, I'm not interested. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of goalkeepers kind of have that problem, that they've basically out of time.
Yeah, again, like he might not be the best keeper ever with the ball at his feet, but he's not being helped out by his defenders in front of him. I mean, they point a lot to him getting tangled up in the first 30 seconds of the Cardiff game. But the thing is that Socrates' back pass was fucking awful.
Yeah.
Basically checking 2 players bearing down on him and Socrates still hit it back to him. And you're going, what the fuck?
Yeah,
the best thing would be not to pass back to your own goalkeeper in the 6-yard box with an opponent ready to challenge. You wouldn't do it to an outfield player. Why do it to your goddamn goalkeeper?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not because you can just pick up the ball and just say no, I have it now. You can't. Like he just holds it above his head and fucking Harry Arthur flails, so he can't fucking get it. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It was only fortunate that Arthur absolutely blazed that over, and I think it was just due to the fact that he was just so shocked he received the ball like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I wasn't expecting this.
And then he just panicked and just smashed it over.
It's a perfect strategy. Like, you just get the ball to the opponent at the most inopportune time and just put the willies up them. That's genius. That's Emery.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I think the defence, I think the funny thing is that I think Emery came in thinking that the attack would take more, like getting the attack working and get Ozil back in would be the lion's share of his work. And that's clicked pretty fucking quickly. So I think he's now realised that it's actually his defence that's going to require a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, Lacazette started the season, man of the match performance, scored a goal, set up another. And holy shit, like, can Lacazette and Aubameyang really link up? And it was really, really fucking good.
Yeah.
We started kind of with Lacazette, how I basically think we should, with Lacazette central and Aubameyang starting more on the left, where he can use this fucking afterburner pace to just smoke the opposition fullback.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least keep them pinned back, so Lacazette has got all the space in the world in the middle to just slam the balls in. In fact, he had no space for his own goal, and he still rocketed into the roof of the net.
Yeah.
Racking goal.
And like I said, I will have to say I'm very impressed with Lacazette this season, because I think a lot of people were expecting Aubameyang to be the main focal point for the team. But as you said, like, if you have a strike partnership like those two up front, you really cannot go wrong. They're both still. Like, Aubameyang, I don't think is not quite the player he was at Dortmund, but he's not too far away from it, really. And Lacazette, I think, is just a fantastic finisher.
I think they're both fantastic. I think Aubameyang could be the fucking world beater that he potentially was at Dortmund.
If he has a team to complement it, yes.
That's my point, and I think we saw a bit of that when Torreira came on, because Torreira coming on lessened the defensive burden on Aubameyang.
Yes.
And that just left him, all he had to do was just switch on those afterburners, and he just leads people for dust. When he really gets into his stride, there's not a whole lot of players that can catch him. Particularly when he's got Nacho Monreal at left back, who's a bit more defensively minded.
Yes, so he's always guaranteed that cover.
Exactly, that allows him to just dedicate all of his energy just putting the opponents to the sword, and I think we're getting there. I think our attack is really clicked, and the kind of triumvirate between Ozil, Lacazette, and Aubameyang linked up so often, and I think Ramsey had a lot of fun. I mean, he didn't score or assist, but the amount of late runs that you could see him doing at the huge pockets of space, and you're just thinking, all right, and in particular, Aubameyang's goal himself. Now, had he not decided to curl it in from 18 yards, which I've got no problem with.
No, it's fine. It's fair.
No, it's fine. Apparently, amazingly, that's his first goal outside of the box for 2 years.
Lacazette.
Yeah. Oh no, Aubameyang.
Aubameyang, sorry. Well, like that is the kind of way he plays, I suppose. He just storms to the box and then shoots.
His last 76 goals have all been inside the box. The last time he scored was 2 years ago outside the box. No. But you can see, if you look at the clip, you can see just to his right, Ramsey has made one of those classic Rambo late runs into the box, and he's in acres of space. If instead of going to shoot, Aubameyang had just hit it flatly across, just kind of maybe at 2-3 o'clock.
Yeah, Ramsey was there.
Ramsey was there in acres of space, and it was just so brilliant.
Yeah.
And just seeing that many options. Now, obviously, when you've got a player who can just swear it in from 18 yards, fucking go for it, by all means, have at it. But the amount of options, and also having Rambo in that kind of advanced onside position in plenty of space means that we're on to the second balls as well. Like, had the goalkeeper somehow managed to get his hand to that,
someone's there to pick up. Yeah,
it was a tap in for Rambo.
Yeah, well, like I said, and that's I suppose the it is now a good positive for Arsenal, because, like I said, you were always going to be at a deficit with the first 2 games, but now that you have teams that are, shall we say, like teams that you can expect to beat, like Arsenal can expect to beat West Ham and Cardiff. At least now you have like a kind of better idea of where this team is at, and as you said, the ideas are starting to come across in one half of the pitch. It is now just the other side that needs to start getting looked at, because at the end of the day, and we've learned it the hard way ourselves with countless years under the likes of Rodgers and the early years with Klopp. It's all going well having a very good attack, but if you can't defend it, then there's really no point to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, then I was going to do a quick rundown of the league table as it stands, because we do have our first interlull of the season, which is always exciting. Which, as the name implies, always excites us to no end. So after 4 match days, we have 3 teams on maximum points, and to be fair, I wasn't expecting these 3 teams up here, but however, Liverpool top.
Well, I would have expected. One of them was expected.
Yes, maybe.
One certainly wasn't.
No. So separated by goal difference, all on 12 points. Full marks so far are Liverpool, Chelsea, and Watford. And no.
Watford has what the fuck?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like I said, no marks there for which one we thought we'd never see 12 points out of this season. Manchester City are in the top 4, not quite full marks. They were held to a draw from Wolves, and obviously that's where they get their 10 points. Spurs, though,
not actually a big surprise. That wasn't.
It wasn't. Not the game exactly wasn't. No, you see, once you watch the game and you see how Wolves set up, you think, fuck, they sussed out City quite well. You know what I mean? Yeah. They actually had the system quite down. We'll talk a bit about Wolves after this anyway. So Spurs then, a bit of a high and low week, it's fair to say. Trounced up to Old Trafford, beat United 3-0, as you do, and then lose 2-1 to Watford, which is a shame. So they are currently 5th. Yeah, decent start from Bournemouth. They're 6th at the minute, 7 points. Only first loss of the season against Chelsea this past weekend. Everton have been have been a funny old team, because they've had two all draws so far. It's pretty much just all been Richarlison. It's either him scoring goals, it's either him being injured, or it's either him being sent off. So, for all intents and purposes,
it's leading to the next Palace.
Yeah. So, all intents and purposes, Richarlison's doing very well carrying his team. Leicester have done okay as well. So we have a clutch of teams of 6 points: Leicester, Arsenal, Man United, and again very similar records: 2 wins, 2 losses. That's pretty much it. Wolves have done okay, I feel, like 2 very well earned draws, and first win of the season then this past weekend against West Ham. Southampton, first win of the weekend, first win of the season this weekend as well.
My God, they need that.
They really, really did. Holy shit! It looked like even after 3 match days, they were looking quite bad football wise.
Fucking haggard.
Yeah. Fulham then, on the other hand, pick up their first win, which I'm delighted about. Brighton, same identical record as Fulham. They're both kind of joint 13th, as it were. Palace only one win to them so far, which I'm kind of surprised at. But they have I thought they would be doing a bit better at the start of the season. But
I was, but the thing is that like Zaha's not playing.
That's true.
Like,
That's
Zaha,
true.
The thing about Palace is much like with Richarlison at Everton, it's pretty much the Zaha show.
Yeah, exactly.
When Zaha doesn't play, Palace lose.
Yep, and that's quite fair, and I'm pretty sure all Palace fans would agree with that.
That's really, I think it's virtually law of thermodynamics in there right now.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's the Croydon law of thermodynamics. I think. So anyway, so here are some of the strugglers. Fair to say, Cardiff scoring 2 goals this weekend, which I think will probably do them for the next few months. Same applies for Huddersfield, also yet to win this season. And then only 1 point so far for Newcastle and Burnley, but they have mitigating circumstances. Burnley were, fighting against all of Europe. Newcastle are basically fighting against House of Fraser, so they both have reasons to be down there. West Ham United, on the other hand,
are fighting a numerous amount of STDs, no doubt.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So you want to talk about West Ham, Neil? What the fuck's gone wrong? I think that noise really summarises the whole thing, really, doesn't it?
I have absolutely no idea. Fucking hell! Like, now, in all fairness to them, they will not come out well out of this. Mm-hmm. They almost drew 0-0 with Wolves.
They almost did. I mean, they really tried.
They fucking almost did.
They really tried so hard not to concede.
So, apparently, looking at the stats now, it's apparently the first time West Ham have lost their opening 4 since 2010.
Mm-hmm. I think they got relegated that year, didn't they?
Yes, I was about to say that. It will not have escaped their attention that they got relegated in 20th place.
Oh dear.
With a game to spare. I'm wondering, that's when they had fucking Avram Grant.
Well, that explains it as well.
Yeah. They were probably looking at it and going, what the fuck were we thinking?
Do we even know he was a football manager, or did he just... Was he like one of them fucking like corporate guys? Like an agency member, a staff member that just kind of comes in and like steadies the ship for a while and then leaves? Was he on like a week to week contract? Because I think Chelsea did the same thing.
He was on a rolling contract, but what the fuck?
He didn't have any rights anyway.
In all fairness, now they're up against a team that recruited in very, very fucking well. Over the summer.
That's the thing. You see, that's what's kind of surprising me, is that West Ham have tried to be all metropolitan this season.
They hit 100 million up the fucking wall or something.
Yeah, and like I said, they bolstered. I'll tell you what's baffling to me, right? Because I kind of saw this from the first match against Liverpool. And I don't know if it's the way Pellegrini's setting up the team, or it's just that's who he has at his disposal. But I found the midfield to be really, really poor. And the reason I say
garbage.
Very bad. But the reason I say that is because they have basically like all the money's been spent on the defence. Like they have Diop and Balbuena, 2 new centre backs. I don't think they got any fullbacks this season. I could be wrong. Obviously a new goalkeeper, Fabianski, who's great. He's actually been one of their best players this season so far. Like
were not for him, they'd have been getting pasted.
I was about to say, like, they've already conceded like 10 goals this season, which I think is either the league worst or joint league worst so far.
They would have been blocked.
They'd be a lot worse than those 10 goals. I can tell you that much.
No, equal with Huddersfield. You were correct.
Oh well, there you go. That's my memory. So like I said, they would have been a lot worse than that. And forwards wise, then you've like spent so much money on the likes of Yarmolenko, Felipe Anderson, pinning down fucking Arnautovic is arduous in of itself. And as I say, like the main kind of the signing I was waiting to see was Ryan Fredericks was the fullback I was thinking of. I know I forgot somebody. Jack Wilshere was the signing I was most intrigued by, because assumingly I thought that Wilshere was going to replace Mark Noble, because like Noble is a scrappy player. He's the West Ham captain. I understand that, but I had assumed that Pellegrini coming in is not going to have a player like Mark Noble in his side. Like Pellegrini likes to have his marquee players. He likes to have this side of like, like West Ham want to go. They want to go to this kind of metropolitan type of team where they just have these like so many talented players that surely if you just throw enough money and enough talent at this, it will work eventually. But then the first match day comes around and I see that both Noble and Wilshere are playing. And then you look, then you have other players like Obiang and all these other players that are just kind of like of the same mold of West Ham, and then there's no one that's actually linking the defense to the attack. And that's where I feel like West Ham are going wrong, is that they have Noble and Wilshere who are essentially playing the same role. And then you also have lads like Obiang who will do the same thing as well. So they don't have any like central midfielders as such. They have attacking midfielders and they have defensive midfielders. And Declan Rice is being used as a centre back as well. So he's not being used in any means in his best position either. So it's really baffling from my point of view. Like, you've spent all this money on 2/3 of a team. Where is the spine? Where is the player that's going to like turn from one end and pass to the other? And what's even more baffling to me is that they sold a player that could do that, which was Kouyaté, to Crystal Palace, and now he's doing that for them. So I don't know if that's down to Pellegrini or that's down to the two porn barons leading the team, but that looks like the most criminal offence right there, is not having that link up midfielder. Like, and then maybe Felipe Anderson's going to play in deeper, but that would seem like a waste of his skills, really.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is that Wilshere was meant to be that player, but unfortunately he's been putting in the worst shift by any Hammers player by a country mile so far. It wasn't. I actually watched the game, and it wasn't surprising that West Ham looked an awful lot better when he got hooked in the 65th minute.
And the thing is, like, I don't know if that's because he is like playing alongside Noble. I felt like if Noble wasn't playing, Wilshere was doing that duty instead, I think the team would be playing a bit better. But again, that's just my kind of opinion on Wilshere generally. I don't think he can be that
also,
rough and tumble.
It doesn't help when he's got people like Snodgrass to play up to. What the fuck is Snodgrass still getting his goddamn game? All Snodgrass did in that game was dive all over the kid.
Yeah, he's there for set pieces, I think, really, because he does have a hell of a fucking foot on him.
That's not really a good reason to have a player in the team.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, so
as long as the ball is completely dead, and he's all the time in the world to run up and hit it. He's grand.
He's great when he doesn't have to move. He's really good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. But my God, how Pellegrini must have been looking with complete total envy at the midfield that Wolves had.
Yes.
I mean, fucking Neves and Moutinho. Fuck me, they ran it.
Yeah, and that's exactly. It actually transitions quite well to the Wolves talk then, because I was very impressed with them against Man City, and the most baffling thing is that it wasn't such a difficult thing to do either. Now granted, not every team is going to have two holding midfielders that are as classy as Neves and Moutinho. Like it's a rarity in of itself, having players that good in that position. But the actual awareness to not necessarily press all along the pitch, not to charge at every time Man City have the ball, because that's how you open up space for their players. You let them have the possession up to a certain point and then press. And the beauty of that is then Wolves have the players to counter-attack, like Helder Costa, like Jota. Jimenez is not quite there, but he will be. And it was a perfect game plan.
An awful lot of effort, but he's got accuracy issues, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. We noticed that from the miss of the century, as it's being called. God love him. That's terrible. I did that once when I was 12, and I couldn't leave the house after that. But
Traore as well.
Yes, Traore. Yeah, he should be in that team really. But again, it's shot accuracy as well. So, but no, like I said, very impressive Wolves. I think that they would do a lot better in the 5 points they have on, if you know what I mean. Like their performances should at least give them a bit more than that. But like I said, I think they are a very good team. They're in nowhere near danger this season, really.
Oh, they're absolutely excellent. I mean, and also, I think in particular, we touched on Traore being a massive signing for them. But Rui Patricio as well.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. How on earth? In a summer where Chelsea, City and Liverpool spent a combined over 150 million quid on 3 goalkeepers.
Yeah.
How he got through anybody's fucking fingers is beyond me. Because surely nothing's getting through his. He's been fucking brilliant for him.
Yeah, he's a great goalkeeper. I mean, I was a great fan of him as well, mostly from Football Manager. But I think that really kind of counts, really. At this stage.
When does it knock out?
Yeah, exactly.
But see, I've always been. I thought he should have left Portugal about 3 years ago, and
yeah,
it's unfortunate that it took what the hell went on at Sporting Lisbon. For him to actually fucking get the fuck out there.
Yeah, it took actual riots for him to leave Portugal. That says something, really.
They literally had to kick him out of the club. Physically boot him out the fucking door.
Oh, that's desperate. But yeah, and like I said, all the well for Wolves though. Like to be able to just say, oh yeah, we have Rui Patricio, we got him for free. Like, was like, you got him for free? What the shit? Like that's nuts. They might have to pay for him after if Sporting's like court case goes well. I don't think it will, but sure. They want to try and recoup funds any way possible, so good luck to that.
In all fairness, if I was a Wolves fan and that tribunal came back and said, "Oh, you have to pay 15 million for him" or something like that, I'd be like, "Oh, here, do you accept cash?"
Yeah, Visa or MasterCard, which one do you want?
Yeah, exactly. Here, fuck it, wait till I get my fucking wallet out, pal. Take it. That's fucking brilliant. You know.
Yeah. But yeah. Like I said, I'm very, very pleased for Wolves, and like I said, the one team so far to really bother Man City, and like I said, I think they have a good idea for other teams to try and follow the same way. Like I said, you're not going to have the same class in midfield as they do, but I think the idea of basically letting them have possession and then denying them at a certain point when they get to the 30-35 yard mark, and I could be wrong, but I don't think there's any real like long shot players in the Man City side. Maybe Fernandinho, perhaps. No one else. Everyone else tries to get into the box or plays a short. You know, they have their own system. And like I said, the way Wolves, I think Wolves played with a back 5 that day actually. So you have your back 5, then you have 2 holding midfielders. Like so many men behind the ball, but that system will work against City. It's been proven. But much like City, they will find a way around that then as well. So
yeah, and that's why but Wolves, so many men behind the ball, but they all break forward and run with purpose, speed and power. I mean, Traore in particular, I mean, he doesn't really look like a very large man, but when he gets on the ball, he's like a double-decker bus that has to be stopped, you know.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, and and Helder Costa is kind of the exact opposite, where he's like so like a I don't know what word to pick it really, but he's just like a sprinter. You know what I mean? He's just so lightweight. He just runs like a feather, and I think it was like he was able to chase a ball a good 60-70 yards and nearly got a goal for Wolves. It was incredible. Now he's not very good at shooting, but holy shit, he'll make a chance for somebody. You know?
Oh, absolutely. But sometimes that's all you want. All you want is a player to get his fucking foot in there. You know?
Yeah.
To I'm like to quote a very Pulisian comment, which was quite apt given that we're talking about Wolves, you know. But I think Pulis, even when Traore played under Pulis, the one thing about Traore is that he generates an awful lot of free kicks and yellow cards.
Yeah, because he's the same. It's a kind of the Zaha effect. When you have a fast, like zippy player like that who's just going to keep running at players, they're automatically going to get fouled. You know, that's just the way. They're just going to be a foul magnet. That's how it works. And
so that's why Pulis obviously slung him on like late when everybody was knackered and they just couldn't calibrate to somebody who was that fast and strong.
Oh no, it actually fucking works a treat. It really, really does.
Yeah.
So, I suppose then I was going to. I suppose we better talk about the top team of the league at the minute, who we're clearly going to stay there, which is Liverpool. And I suppose like the reason why I mention them is because they haven't been playing that well, and again, not necessarily a negative as such, but there's actually the way we've been winning. I've actually been quite surprised with, you know, because like I said, with the win against West Ham, you're thinking, oh grand, they're going to start clicking again straight away. But the teams we've been playing have not really allowed us to do that. and we've kind of been aware of that. You know, like Palace away is always like the most traumatizing experience for us, and I think will be for some time. Then Brighton, who let's face it, didn't have a good record against us last season, and really a 1-0 win. We should be doing better than that against Brighton, even going by previous history. And then the game against Leicester, then they bothered us quite a bit. Like Leicester are a very good side. Let's not say that. Let's just like push that aside. They are very, very good. They'll bother teams this season, and in a way, like I've liked the fact that we have been able to rely on a solid defence and goalkeeper. You know, we don't have to bomb forward anymore. We don't have to burn ourselves out scoring 2-3s. You saw the goals, the results there were 2-0, 1-0, 2-1, a lot tighter. And it's because now we have the security at the back. You know what I mean? Like special props in particular to Joe Gomez, who is, look,
been a beast.
He's been brilliant. And like I said, it is a slightly complimentary because he's beside Van Dijk. And I think any player that plays beside Van Dijk automatically looks better. But man, he looks like he's been there for years. And it's been seamless because he's only in there because Clavan got sold to Italy. May he rest in peace, Lord Clavan. And because Lovren's injured or not injured, maybe injured. Who cares? So
he's the best in the world.
He is not. And the thing is with Gomez. The thing about Gomez is that, like you said, he's meant to be a centre-back by trade, but he's been playing so everywhere else for us that everyone's forgotten that that's his natural position. And you can kind of see it now when he is bedded in and playing with someone of the calibre of Van Dijk, when he's there like lieutenant as such. He's just been fantastic. I think I would even call him our man of the match against Leicester. You know, just someone who was always dialed in, you know, and playing around quite well, defending well. He did everything. And like I said, it's good that we have a defence working well, because this, like last season, we would be drawing those games against Palace and Leicester. You know, we probably would have been held to a 0-0 draw against Brighton. You know, so now we can say like, well, we've been able to defend a 1-0 lead or a 2-0 lead, whatever it is. That's great. It actually is genuinely like one of the best things about the season so far, because the front three. With exception to Mane, who's been fantastic, like he's been ripping it out. Salah and Firmino have been quite sluggish, but I think that's from like World Cup and the general fatigue as well. Like they're just not quite up to speed yet, you know. Otherwise, that's about it. You know, like Kate has been very good as well. Like he missed the Leicester game, but otherwise looks dialed in already. The one thing I would say though is, by the way, Robertson as well has been fantastic. Like I think he's got like 2 assists to his name already with the crosses he has. It's nuts. He's been brilliant. The one thing I will say though about our midfield is that I think Klopp's going to have to make some very tough decisions. He's going to have to basically like ditch one of his favourites, because the midfield we've had in the last few games have been a mixture of like Keita, Wijnaldum and Milner. And that is like the ultimate workhorse midfield. Like it is the best, it's the highest energy midfield you're probably going to get out of this Liverpool midfield, and probably any other midfield really. The problem is though, now we have Henderson back, and because he's the club captain, you're kind of obliged to play him. And as the Leicester game showed, when he is there and someone else like when Keita was dropped for the Leicester game, and when he is there, like you can kind of see it's not quite the same. And maybe that's because Keita wasn't on, or because the mixture has been disrupted or whatever. But it's upset the midfield now a little bit having Henderson back in, which kind of sucks. But you never know. With the next game, I think we're up against Spurs next. We might just put Keita back in and might solve things again. We never know. But
absolutely, yeah. I think you had a major problem in not a major problem. Actually, you did have a major problem in your midfield where Henderson and Wijnaldum were just both completely at sea. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And
in all fairness, in that thing, I'd have put Keita alongside Wijnaldum and benched Henderson.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like Henderson's kind of the fourth best midfielder now at Liverpool. Like it's between him, like Milner. You know what you're going to get out of him, and the most absurd thing about Milner is that he's somehow getting better with age. Like a player like him, who is essentially just running around all the time, like it's a purely fitness based thing. He's getting better at age 33, which I think is against nature. really. Like, how... Name me any other player that has got better as he got older. Like, maybe fucking Zlatan. And I don't want to put Zlatan and James Milner in the same bracket there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I feel that's the kind of the problem. Now, we kind of feel obliged to play Henderson. We have to now miss out on like that sort of midfield intensity, you know?
No, absolutely. But I think being just trying to point out some negatives, because I'm actually going to try and bridge Liverpool and Chelsea, because the comment you made about, you know, you not even getting out of, not still winning games despite not being out of second gear, I think applies also to Chelsea as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's not clicked for them either, and they're still just, they're walking teams. But I think from this game, I think what you've kind of learned is that Henderson, Wijnaldum and Milner really shouldn't be in a starting 11 anymore together.
Yeah.
They're too similar, and collectively the temperament, they're too passive, you know, they're too reactive, as opposed to, say, Keita, who will make shit happen.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Like, Keita is someone who was break up play and do that. And a lot of people have been kind of calling him like a Kante-like player, but I think Keita gives you more than Kante, if you know what I mean.
He does. He gives you more of an offensive thing than Kante. Not to say that what Kante does isn't fucking inhuman either. Also, Shaqiri really needs to start getting more and more game time. He's looked so much sharper. He's dialed in and then up.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably going to be the case after the international break. I think the way I see it, I think Klopp just wanted to get 12 points in the bag. That's win those games when he's necessary, and that's your base for the rest of the season. Yeah,
in all fairness, but you know, he was saying winning ugly is good, and yeah, definitely is good. But the thing is that I'd be more inclined to try and prevent playing ugly, if you get me.
Yes,
like playing bad and winning is good, but you don't ever want to play bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough as well. I think probably was a lot of like bit of game management because of fitness levels and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I'd say I would be very surprised if we didn't hit the afterburners after the international break. You know, because we do have a good few of those players, some of those players, because obviously the Nations League has kind of been on, so there's a few friendlies here and there for some of the players. A lot of them are just kind of on a holiday, really. Like Salah, I think, is on holiday, I think. Or at least Mane. Some of the African players are anyway. Most of the European bulk of the team are doing the friendlies and Nations League, so they'll probably come back a little bit, maybe a bit sharper, probably injured, that sort of shit.
Yeah, but I think Leicester played the right game as well for Liverpool to be able to kind of sort of dial it in. They came out lined up in what I can only assume by looking at them play was a 4-6-0.
Yeah, because they had Gray playing up front. That was very weird. That did not suit them at all.
That was kind of going, I hear now, is he lost?
Yeah, that wasn't right at all.
But yeah, again, there's not a whole lot to take from that other than, you know, if you play like that again, get worried because it, you know, but fuck it, you know, I mean, there's a lot of positives to take as well. Gomez played like an absolute beast, and if he keeps that up, fuck me. Like, with Alisson, that calming presence at the back, regardless of his mistake.
Yeah, that was a fuck up. That he won't be doing that again.
That was definitely a fuck up. He really needs to cut that shit out.
Yeah.
As entertaining as it is to the neutral.
Well, like when you chip a Brighton forward, yeah, that's great, but that could also have gone terribly, terribly wrong as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
The thing is that in the Brighton game, like, he's only won that by 1 goal.
Yeah, exactly. That could have cost us 3 points. So you have to think of it that way.
So, in all fairness, I would rather just say, here, look, knock that on the fucking head. If we're 5-0 up, then you can start that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So you wanted to transition to Chelsea.
You've got a platform at the back to be a juggernaut, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I would agree with that with Gomez, because, like I say, if he is playing at that level all the time, there's absolutely no need for Lovren. There's absolutely no need for Matip, really. They're going to be backup players, you know, when you really think they're going to be rotation. I'm all for that, because I think Gomez is a fantastic player, even for the age he's in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And like I say, and it is because he's been so versatile in the past, playing fullback either side in like previous seasons. That's kind of done him the service because again, people have forgotten that his natural position is right side of centre back. So
absolutely.
So it works great. So anyway, Neil, you wanted to have a chat about Chelsea.
Just a quick aside as well. Because you said we must say something about Leicester because they were the other team in there. Maddison looks fucking quality.
Maddison's a great player. I obviously noticed him in the game against us, but I think it was the first game or the second game, and he just plays. He's kind of grown into it, really. Come to think of it, and he is that type of number 10 player that Leicester missed last season, and probably the last 2 seasons. Come to think of it, just that kind of player who just feeds the forwards, and not only that, but he also will chip in with the goal as well when the time is right. He's a great player. I'm actually kind of surprised he's not in the England squad, to be honest.
All credit to Leicester for digging him out. But if he keeps this up by the end of the season, they're going to be beating fuckers off with a stick.
Yeah, I would go along with that. I think Spurs were actually looking for him last season, and Norwich told him to go away. So I suppose like that's kind of shows you that the teams are already on the radar, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there we have it.
Absolutely. But segueing neatly into another team that haven't really gotten out of second gear and are still fucking trundling all over everybody, Chelsea.
So why have Chelsea been so good while being so average?
Because basically they've got such an unbelievable wealth of talent that even when it's not really clicking, it's worked. I mean, you're looking at that Chelsea team, they've got some fucking world class players, and went to great pains to point out the last podcast what incredible midfield Sarri has built. Just incredible midfield.
Yeah, and that's the main thing about this Chelsea team is that it is probably like pound for pound might be the best midfield in the league, going on talent alone. But kind of what I was kind of worried about at the start of the season was that would that be enough to get this Chelsea team at this level all the time, because I still feel like they're a number 9 short of being a great team, and to be fair, anyone that plays David Luiz regularly is asking for trouble. So yeah, again, those two gripes alone, I think hold Chelsea back a bit.
Totally, yeah. But Luiz aside, the defense is unbelievable. In particular, Alonso, who's, by the way, just been fucking fantastic. Looked up a bit of stats there. He's won 2 penalties since the start of the last 4 games. He's won 2 penalties, 2 assists, and scored a goal. And even Sarri described him, said that if he improves in this defensive phase, because he has been exposed defensively at times, he said that if he improved defensively, he could be the best left back in the world. I can't really disagree with that.
Yeah.
Could have seen red in that match as well for when he fouled Adam Smith and then deliberately delayed the quick throw in just before everybody got back in. I was like, ooh,
it's a bit dodgy, yeah.
He's on a knife edge there. He probably should have gotten the second yellow.
The one thing that does surprise me about Marcos Alonso actually is that because the main tactical shift from or formation wise is they're back to playing a back 4. And in a way, I would have been concerned that Alonso would be pinned back more because now his starting position is a lot further back. But if anything, he's actually been able to get more space that way because he now has more of a run up, and as it were, because the Chelsea midfield is quite narrow. I think they're playing a 4-3-3 as far as I can remember. So it's quite a narrow midfield, which again allows the fullbacks to push up. It has been really good, and in fairness, they haven't really looked that bothered in a way. Huddersfield was not a great challenge. Newcastle just parked the bus hoping for the best.
I'd say we really posed them quite a lot of chances. And
that was the closest one. Yeah, exactly.
That was more a case of us not being able to hit the ground when we fell over.
Yeah.
I think so. Luiz is definitely a bit of a liability at the back. For the love of God. Luiz is kind of, actually, funnily enough, we mentioned Arsenal and Luiz. Luiz is kind of one of those players that reminds me a whole lot of Xhaka, in that I can never find nor come up with myself one single positive comment about the motherfucker, and yet
he's still here.
Yeah, under every single manager that either of them played, those managers have picked them whenever they've been able to.
It's baffling, isn't it? Like, I think they just see something in training that makes them think this lad is brilliant. Like, obviously with Xhaka it's the long shots, and I think with Luiz it's his free kicks. Because even like going back to his Benfica days, I knew of David Luiz because he was a centre back, an absolute. Well, actually, no, he was playing in midfield at the time, centre midfield. Absolute.
He was a DM. Yeah,
that's right, and he was an absolute nutbag for free kicks. Like, he used to just basically Roberto Carlos them in, where he just like go either pure placement or pure power, and most of the time it was pure power. So maybe it is that because you have that sort of like, I suppose, that X factor in a way. But the thing is, like, of all the positions you want a player to have an X factor, is it really centre defence?
Yeah, he always has that mistake in him. You know,
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the concentration. I mean, twice actually Bournemouth could have scored, and they really should have.
Yeah.
And they should have taken those chances. And both those times it was when he went to sleep.
Yeah, which will happen quite often, I think.
Totally, yeah. Also, Chelsea they really need to start Giroud more.
Yeah. I still don't see what people see in Morata. And like I said, I think those numbers are dwindling, but Sarri is one of those people who still want Morata to be that player. He just isn't.
No, he's not. He's just not. Even at a pure base level, Giroud just looks more up to play football.
Yeah, but more tactically astute. Yeah, he's more tactically astute. Like, he's someone who I think can. Okay, look, so I've kind of slagged him off in the World Cup for not scoring for France, but he made players like. He played people in. Like, he made the likes of Mbappe and Griezmann better by playing that central role.
Started despite the fact that he didn't score goals.
Yeah,
because he brought everybody into the match.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like he will and like I said, it's not too far away from the system they play in France either. So, in a way, like, he will get players like Willian and Hazard and all these other, like, just phenomenal players they have at Chelsea, and just make them play better. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have like a number 9 that gives you 20 goals. But if it's a number 9 that creates 20 goals, directly or indirectly, that's different.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, from the players that you do have, like Hazard, I'll throw Kovacic into this category once he beds in. Willian, Hazard, Kovacic, Pedro as well, who's like back to fucking full beans again. All these players will score goals on Giroud's behalf. You know what I mean? Like, the deficit you're going to have by having a player like him linking up will balance out. You know what I mean? By having those players score more.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And again, the French coach picked up on that quite well, and he actually was all well for it. He won the fucking World Cup for it. So there you have it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, but when that whole thing, much like with Liverpool, when that whole thing clicks, that's going to be a worry. Yeah,
and it was the same thing with Chelsea back with the first year with Conte. Like, it was everyone just going like, "Ooh, will they fit with this new back three system?" And once it did, there was no stopping them. So there's going to be.
Don't be surprised to see the Chelsea go in like fucking hardcore for a shit hot striker in January.
I would not. To be fair, I think I'm very surprised that Batshuayi still hasn't got a sniff, but now he's out on loan. So there we go. Solves that one. Anyway, so there's two more teams I'd like to talk about before we wrap up the Premier League section of this podcast. I would like to talk about Watford very briefly because I think it does deserve a bit of conversation. Why Watford has got this far? Because considering that most of us tipped them for relegation, or at least to be very close to relegation, and here they are basically rubbing up with the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea and Man City, and of course Spurs, the team they've just beaten. And the baffling thing is, like, I watched the Watford Spurs game there on Sunday, and I was trying to think to myself, like, how has this Watford team won? Like, what was the game plan? How are they playing? What are they playing like? And was it down to Spurs bottling? And my perception is that the one trait that Watford has is physicality. You know, like they're all generally quite a tall team. Like there's a few nippy players around like Hughes and so forth, but they're still quite physically strong. And they've got very decent players that bomb forward. Like Holebas is a great example, and a really good midfield. Like Doucouré is a very good player. Capoue is a very good anchor, and then you have a fantastic playmaker in Pereira. The two forwards are again quite efficient. Like Deeney scores a lot of goals. He's looked a lot better, and Andre Gray tends to like stretch the back four a good bit to make space for Deeney. So they're a good partnership. To be fair, I'm just surprised it's all clicked for Watford in a way, because you think that this is the team where like looks great on paper, and then for whatever reasons, like either calamities off the pitch or whatever shit happens at Watford, stuff does not go right. But this is the most baffling thing. Things have been going right because nothing has changed. They haven't signed any major players. The only thing that's changed his team is Richarlison. He's gone, and they haven't spent any money to replace him. If anything, the team looks better without him, and that's the most baffling thing to me. That they've just taken out this weird aberration called Richarlison, shifted him for 50 million, and the team is better for it. It was a baffling thing to me looking at the match, thinking, how have this team beaten Spurs, who had just beaten United 3-0? But when I looked at it again, I just thought, oh, they just out-muscled Spurs off the ball and had more drive. They just bashed through walls, and that's what it was.
Yeah, to use a very often almost hackneyed footballing term, they just wanted it more.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And like you said, it is, as I said, it's very much hackneyed because everyone fucking says that nowadays. But for all intents and purposes, Watford did want it more, and you can kind of see it with players like Cathcart just like diving in to get their head on it, or Holebas, who will just bomb forward. Like you'd never think that Holebas would be that kind of player, but 3 or 4 years at Watford, any fantasy football manager will tell you that Holebas is like a dead set for your team because of what he creates. But no, I've been very surprised with Watford. I really have been, because the manager is such an unknown. You feel like, well, what sort of systems does he play? What sort of philosophy does he have? The philosophy is just play football in a physical and no quarter given manner, and it works. It works with his team.
Yeah, they've got a lot of skill and a good amount of experience. Looking at the team now, they've got a midfield of Doucouré, Capoue, Hughes, and Pereira.
Yeah,
I'm like gonna struggle with that.
No, you're not.
You know, that as well. Funnily enough, a little bit of a stat attack.
Mm-hmm.
The top little bit of a stat attack when you mentioned Holebas there. The two leading assist makers in the Premier League right now are both left backs. One isn't much of a surprise, and that's Benjamin Mendy. The other is Holebas. So he's fucking. He's 34.
Yeah, that's my point. He's the one that's bombing forward at that age, creating assists, creating chances.
No, it's just really good. I mean, it also helped that Spurs really didn't play a very good game. Eriksen looked really off the boil. They
all looked quite tired, I felt.
Oh, absolutely. Dembele after an hour looked shagged.
Yeah.
He looked really out of it. So they totally lost that midfield battle, and then just Watford just swarmed them.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it may have been a bit of a different game if Pochettino had like hooked Dembele and Eriksen and put Dyer and Winks on.
Yes, I would say so.
Might not have been much better, but they would have at least put up a bit of an argument, put up a bit of a fight.
I guess
Loriente just isn't working. I don't know. He's just not putting in the shifts. Which in a Spurs team is actually quite a disaster, because they're a team that pretty much is defined by the hard work that their players put in.
Well, yeah, it relies on work rate.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like Watford could have still won, because the problem with me was that the likes of Ali and Kane weren't even really doing that much. You know, like
Kane's put right up there and is told really not to track back, because in that advanced position, it does give him the whole philosophy behind Kane is if you give him the ball anywhere near the box, it's going into the net,
which is fair.
And Yeah, to be fair, they've got an awful lot of evidence to prove that. But yeah, no, it's just it didn't work out for them. They got overrun in midfield, didn't put in the shift, and they lost.
Yeah.
Ha 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 ha. Sure, didn't even score the one goal that's credited to them. It was a kind of a freakish decoy.
Yeah, exactly. Watford scored all 3 goals, so I suppose that's something at least. So with that in mind, then, I suppose the last team I'd like to talk about in this Premier League rundown is our ever favourite Manchester United. So they've had a fun week, it's fair to say. Monday night they get trounced 3-0 by Spurs. Very much played off the pitch, it has to be said. And then back to winning ways against Burnley, who were going into hard Brexit mode. They got kicked out of Europe, so celebrated it by being beaten 2-0 by United. I suppose this result does paper over the cracks a little bit, but the early week meltdown at United was really something else, in my view.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in all fairness, he did try, at the end of the game, he did try a bit of a charm offensive by walking to the supporters, giving them his coat, his fucking water bottle, fucking signing autographs and all this shit. So he did go on a bit of a charm offensive to try and offset everything.
Yes.
They even got the obligatory plane circling overhead with the skyline, with the sky banner.
Yeah, it's
a specialist in failure. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like I said, the whole kind of all this kind of shambles is happening really almost too fast for United in a way. They can't even react. They can't even roll from one we'll even call it scandal. It's just one fracas over the other. Even in the space of a week, you've had Spurs beat them 3-0 at home, which I think is probably Spurs' biggest away win at Old Trafford in history. And even before that, you have this baffling tactical decision to have Herrera playing in defence instead of Lindelof or Bailly. So that was a head scratcher in of itself. So in that time, then you've have this weird tactical decision. Spurs win 3-0. Mourinho makes a complete tit of himself again. Again, very much diversionary tactics, obviously. And then a few days later, you've got win against Burnley, Ed Woodward banner, Rashford headbutts Phil Bardsley. It's happening in trees.
Pogba misses a penalty.
Oh yeah, well that's true. Yeah, well he's off the Barca anyway. So it's like it's happening in bundles for United. So it's just it's like everything's been round up into one in a very weird way. It's just very hard to still get a read on them. They just look very disjointed. Like I said, it looks like one more loss and the team is just throwing a strop again.
Well, yeah. I suppose after the maelstrom of the midweek, Burnley were pretty much the perfect team to play. They'd only had 1 point in 4. They'd only scored 3. They'd shipped 9.
Yeah.
They were second bottom going into. A second bottom now. Going into the interlull, so their team the wheels are coming off that little cart,
Yeah.
It's not a crisis, but if they play Wolves when they come back, I don't see that going well for them.
No, I'd imagine Wolves will probably win that game.
That's it. So they're concentrating now on the Premier League, which might be for the best, to be perfectly honest for them.
I don't think Europa League was ever a target for Sean Dyche. He doesn't strike me as somebody who would even leave to travel. I'm surprised he actually took the team into Europe. I'm surprised he just said, no, we'll play 2 home ties. If you don't like it, then fuck off.
Yeah, Sean Dyche he's got a globe in his office and it's just the UK there and everything else is just bodies of water with "Here be beasties" written on it.
Yeah, it's a proper old Saxon map of England. Yeah, that's great. Dragons to the west. But,
so and in all fairness, it could have been an awful lot worse for them, were not for Joe Hart actually putting in one of those rare games which has everybody hopping on his dick again. I think Lingard had 3 shots in the opening 10 minutes, but couldn't find it. Granted, Pogba's penalty was fucking diabolical, but
it was a really bad penalty.
you can't criticize any goalkeeper who saves any penalty in any which way, shape, or form. You know, so yeah, and that's just Burnley are just they were just tailor made to be bent over the nearest rocking horse and just giving it to it from some hard jazz.
That's pretty some very smooth jazz if you have it.
Not jazz. I was going more for Pulp Fiction style.
Oh well, no, that's the way you want to go. That's grand. No, I'm all game for that.
I want to go there. That's the whole point.
Yeah, no,
I don't want United to win. Fuck it.
No, that's true. That's true. But like I said, now the fun bit about this is that United's next game is against Watford. So something's going to give. Either it's going to be another calamity or the Watford train is finally derailed. So one of the others.
I reckon, man. I think they're high in there to beat 5 in a row.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. I would probably say Watford might beat that because again, Watford will just.
I don't even have like my baby finger up to the corner of my mouth, Dr. Evil style, saying that. I'm genuinely going like. It would not surprise me if it's 5 in a row.
Well, listen, if Watford could beat Spurs by basically out-muscling them off the ball and wanting it more, then there's nothing to say that they're going to do the exact same thing to United because they have the exact same deficiencies. Like, there's no... Like, Spurs... What I'm saying... Well, my point was that Spurs were lacking that edge because they were tired, basically. But United are kind of missing that because they're disjointed and the system, the team is constantly being rotated.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking there that, like, good luck muscling Sanchez or Lukaku off the ball. Like,
well, it's more so that there's like Sanchez is still, for all intents and purposes, still running around like a headless chicken. Like he's still, I still can't see him like.
Well, he's starting to link up quite well with Shaw now.
Yes, that's one positive.
They're moving Sanchez more out to the left. And he's overlapping with Shaw, and it's actually working. The two of them actually linked up to find Lukaku a few times.
Well, maybe, maybe. I'm very interested in that match in particular. I think it's the evening kickoff actually, which means I'll have to watch BT. No, I doubt it. So, like I said, I think that's probably the most interesting matchup. Of that weekend coming up, which is I think 2 weeks. So we'll look forward to that when it comes. So that's enough to talk about the Premier League then, because we won't be having that for the next 2 weeks. We have to talk about fucking international football again. But before we do that, because I've got a burning question for you later on, I'd like to fondle the Crystal FUWBAWLL for a while, if that's alright with you. You can watch if you like. The Champions League group stage. What did you think of the draw?
Very good. Quite possibly one of the more even spreads I've seen in recent times. The English teams are all quite well placed. I have to say. I'd say maybe there's no real group of death here, is there? Maybe Group A with Atletico, Dortmund, Monaco, and Brugge. So, yeah, I reckon that could be a bit of a group of deathy kind of thing.
Well,
because when you consider that, every single team in that group has reached the final.
That's true. Yeah.
So that could be a nice big group of death. Spurs won't be happy having drawn Barcelona, but PSV shouldn't be too much of a problem for them, and Inter aren't the force that they will almost certainly become in the next 2 to 3 seasons, so best get them out of the way now. Going down, Liverpool got a really good group there.
Yes, it's a fun group, but it's gonna be a fairly tough one to get out of, I'd say.
It's a fairly tough one. It could go either way with PSG, but I reckon your toughest match actually there would probably be Napoli.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Yeah, I reckon Paris Saint-Germain, it depends on which one shows up. And Red Star, the obligatory group whipping boys.
Hopefully, yeah. Like I say, it's a trip to Serbia, so you never know how these things go. But to be fair, the last time we went to that kind of that whipping boy type of team, we beat them 7-0. So that kind of it went pretty well, actually, in fairness.
Yeah, it went pretty well. City have easily the best draw out of all of the English teams.
Definitely, yeah. They got
Shakhtar, Hoffenheim and Lyon. I mean, their squad is just ridiculous. Even if De Bruyne is likely pretty, I think he'll be out for the whole group stage.
Yeah, he didn't get named in the squad, I don't think.
Fucking hell. So yeah, so he'll be out for the whole group stage. Still an awesome squad, and they should absolutely they should win that at a fucking canter.
Yeah, they should be looking at maximum points for that, really.
Oh, absolutely. And if they don't get it, Jesus, they've got to ask themselves something. Again, United got a nice lucky draw as they always do in the Champions League. They're lucky cunts.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Now Juventus,
it'll be pretty much just a coin toss between them and Juve, who finishes top of that.
I would be slightly less agreeable to that. Valencia are not bad, and they've bolstered their team.
Batshuayi went to them, didn't he?
Batshuayi went to them, but they've also got really good players in Rodrigo, is their main man up front, and he is a very, very tidy forward.
They signed that hot Russian midfielder, Cheryshev, didn't they?
They did, yes. I was about to bring up Cheryshev as well. So they've signed very well this summer, and to be fair, we were going to try and offload Origi to them, but I think they went for Batshuayi instead. I think they just bought the wrong Belgian striker, actually, but I don't think they noticed that anyway. But and again, there's
Belgian. Belgian.
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean? There's more than one Belgian striker? Yeah. But that's the thing. They have this. Valencia is a very good side, and they beat a lot of good teams like the likes of Sevilla and Bilbao to actually get to the Champions League. It's hard enough getting to be the fourth best team in Spain without beating the likes of those teams that are normally repeat offenders. So I wouldn't sleep on Valencia. I think Valencia are a decent outfit. It is just a case of us of beating them on the day. As it were, like young boys, you can beat fairly handily. Like I'm surprised Basil's not there really, but I suppose every tradition has to be broken at some stage.
Almost, but I think my overwhelming kind of opinion from that group draw is that the lane is open for an English team to go all the way.
I would completely agree with that. Like I think. Because obviously everything gets reset then at the round of 16, but I'd say Man City would be the most comfortable going through. I think the other three they're not dead sets, but they would be comfortable second place finishers. It's the way I'd say it. Like there's a team arguably that's going to be better suited to top the group, and then they'll be like the likes of Spurs would be fairly comfortably finishing second there, and like I said, United should finish second, but I think they will get challenged quite a bit by Valencia, I think. And kind of the same applies with us with Liverpool. In a way, we're facing Napoli at the right time because they're still getting used to Ancelotti's style. As far as I can recall, I don't think they're doing quite well in Serie A at the moment. And as it were, I think we're facing them at the right time as opposed to next season when he has a year in and probably the squad that suits him as well. So we'd probably beat Napoli. Well, we already have beaten them this season, actually. But when it actually counts, then I feel like we should beat them at least at home. And then if we can get a draw away, then that would probably settle it, But yeah, so let's actually go through group by group then. So Group A, we'll kind of I suppose both kind of predict how these groups are going to go. So Atletico Madrid, Dortmund, Monaco, and Bruges. Who's coming out of that group?
I would actually funnily enough, you've just named the order in which I would put those teams.
that's the order they were drawn. That's bottom 1, 2, 3, and 4. You gimp.
No, that's the order I would put them in. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, so the absurd thing is I actually agree with that. I think it's Madrid and Dortmund. Like I said, it wasn't intentional. I'm just saying that's who I think are going out. Monaco have been basically farmed. They've been reaped. So there's no one else left there really. So yeah, I think it's Madrid and Dortmund. I suppose then Group B then is Barcelona, Spurs, PSV, and Inter Milan. I think Inter Milan are not bad, but as you said, Neil,
I've that almost identical. I'd switch around Inter and PSV.
Yes,
I did Inter coming third.
I would agree with that. Yeah, as I'm going by how they were seeded, so. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Inter are a good side at the moment, but much to your point, they will be a better side in a year or two when those like players like Icardi, they just get like better with age. So I'd say
they've made a good amount of sense. They got Asamoah in, they got De Vrij, they've signed Nainggolan. So that's definitely a squad in transition.
Yeah, it is a good squad, and like if any like out of that group, they will bother Spurs. But I think what like one result against them, and that puts Spurs second really. So
very much.
Yeah. Like the Group C, I would imagine PSG is going to go through comfortably, probably as top because they're just going to be able to. They just have enough class to beat Red Star or Napoli. The games against us though, I think are going to be quite interesting. I see this being quite a tight group, really.
That's tough.
Yeah, I would imagine us coming in second, you know. But like I said, we could easily beat PSG. They could easily beat Napoli. That sort of thing. Like you'd be taking points off each other, really. And like I said, Red Star are just very much there to be the kind of compulsory win, really. But
yeah, I totally agree with that, Leo.
Yeah,
Paris Saint-Germain on top, but I have them on top by like goal difference.
Yes, I think it might come down to that in the end. Potentially.
Yeah.
Like I said, Red Star's role as whipping boy might be quite crucial in that regard.
Pretty much, yeah. Absolutely. So I go with PSG, Liverpool, Napoli, Red Star.
Very good. Group D then. Now this is a tough group actually because all the teams are kind of in the same ballpark. Now, to be honest with you, when this is getting drawn, I was hoping this would be the team we draw. Because Lokomotiv Moscow was like the top seed, champions of Russia, and then you got Porto, Grand. We have history, and Galatasaray, Schalke, decent teams, but they're not like top billing either. So in a way, this group is all kind of like around the same area, you know. So the way I see it is,
it's the same low area.
Yeah, exactly. They're all around the same level. I was trying to be diplomatic, Neil, for fuck's sake. So I would say probably Porto is going to come out of that top. I'd say out of everyone. I'm not too familiar with the Galatasaray side at the minute, but champions of Turkey, I'd imagine they're quite good. So I'll probably have them second. Reason being, I feel like the Schalke team has probably been reaped again, and we just haven't noticed. Like half the team has been left for a fucking bag of fucking chips. You know. So I have them coming then third, and then Lokomotiv last.
So yours goes
Porto, Galatasaray, Lokomotiv. Porto, Galatasaray, Schalke, Lokomotiv.
Yeah, I'd have that as well. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I think Schalke probably won't recover. They lost Goretzka to Bayern Munich. That's definitely not going to help them.
And Meyer.
And Max Meyer for nothing.
Yeah.
It's weird. I definitely think either Porto. I think it's be a coin toss between either Porto and Lokomotiv who tops the group.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Group E then. This is a slam dunk for Bayern Munich, really.
Very much.
Against Benfica, Ajax, and Athens. Like Benfica and Ajax are so similar teams. Like they're like the, I won't say glorified youth team, but they're like the teams that develop players. Like their remit is to basically get into European competition and show off what talent they have. And AEK Athens just got there by beating Celtic, so good job, lads. So I would say it's a coin toss between Ajax and Benfica, really. But as far as I can tell, I think Benfica are in better set than Ajax are. So that's where I'm going for. I'm going for Munich Benfica to get out of that group.
I reckon either Munich and Ajax. I reckon Munich and Ajax.
Okay.
Yeah. Munich, Ajax, Benfica, obviously, and AEK.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a pick 'em between Benfica and Ajax, really.
Yeah, Ajax beat Dynamo Kiev in the playoff, and they were quite good apparently doing it.
Okay.
They've also recruited quite well. I mean, Blind has gone back home, and
Tadic is there as well. I forgot about that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I reckon they've got a good, nice Premier League contingent who will want to play for them, and I reckon they'll come second in that.
Okay, well listen, I won't be disappointed if Ajax come out anyway, but like I'll stick with Benfica just to be contrary. So, I heard that, you fuck. Anyway, so Group F then, it's slam dunk for Man City. They should have maximum points from this.
Yep.
Now, the thing is, the last time Lyon were in the Champions League, I was so fucking disappointed with them because this was the team that had Fekir, Lacazette, all these other players that I thought, Umtiti as well, actually. And all these players I thought, oh, brilliant. These guys are going to fucking shine. They're going to top their group. And they came in last. It was like, okay, well, fuck yous aneway. All this talent.
I think they're going to do that again. I think they'll even miss out on Europa League.
Yes.
They also be aware they have to play their first home game behind closed doors.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they got it's UEFA punishment for disorder. Remember the game against CSKA?
Yes, I do, in the Europa League. I remember that now. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's a kick in the tits. I'm trying to think now, because it's a bit tough. Like, Hoffenheim are a decent outfit, but if they're any way like the team we played last season, they are so wide open. They could score 4 goals.
I know exactly where you're going with your prediction lineup, and I'm completely in agreement. It's going to be City, Shakhtar, Hoffenheim, and Lyon.
Yeah, I would probably say Shakhtar second. I want to say Lyon third because, like I said, there is still a decent bit of talent in that team. But it is always the case. Like, it's just like there's a difference between talent and then being able to win games. So, yeah, I'd have to say Shakhtar because they're quite good at getting out of the group stages at this stage. So yeah, okay, that's fair enough. This one I think is as you were as well. Like Real Madrid top seed, Roma is pot 2, CSKA pot 3, Pilsen pot 4. That's exactly where they're going to finish in the group. I don't think there's going to be any shocks here at all. Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Group H is the interesting one for me. I feel Juve is going to ace this group 100%. Like like Ronaldo's not quite there yet, but he will be by the time this group stage comes around. And I think United are just about going to get through, but it's gonna go down it's gonna be very close between them and Valencia.
Yeah, I reckon Valencia's new signings won't have clicked, unfortunately, by the time that these matches come around to really, really help them.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
But yeah, I reckon Juve, Manchester United getting in ahead of Valencia by probably like 1 point or goal difference. And young boys being the whipping boys.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind. So yeah, just to summarise then, out of Group A, we believe, or at least I believe, that Madrid and Dortmund are going out of Group A. We agree on that. We also believe that Barcelona and Spurs are going out of Group B. We've tentatively agreed that PSG and Liverpool are going out of Group C. But like I said, that's a fairly tight call in of itself. We are differing on Group D, I think. I am saying that Porto and Galatasaray is coming out of that group. But I believe you're saying Porto and Lokomotiv.
Yep.
Okay. We're differing as well on Group E, which is Munich and Benfica. I'm thinking they're going to go through, whereas Neil is saying that Bayern and Ajax are going to go through. So that's going to be a fun one. We're both agreement, and then with the other 3 groups, then we think City and Shakhtar coming out of Group F. We think Madrid and Roma coming out of Group G, and then Juve and Man United coming out of Group H. So that's where we're going with. So yeah, that seems fair enough. I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I suppose a little word then on the Europa League, Neil. How was it? You're happy enough with your draw?
Oh, very, very happy. Not happy about apparently the 17,000 miles of round trip people are going to have to fucking make.
Yes, Azerbaijan and Ukraine. And of course, the most dangerous of all, Portugal.
Actually, yeah, right now, going to Sporting Lisbon, it's a danger for their own fucking players.
Exactly, yeah. Imagine what it's like for you fuckers.
Yeah, it's going to be quite bad. There's a big thing because we're playing one match in Azerbaijan.
Yes.
There's a big thing about Mkhitaryan not being maybe not being eligible to play in that game because there's a diplomatic incident between Azerbaijan and Armenia in that the 2 countries don't diplomatically recognise one another.
That sounds bad.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? We should definitely make it out of this group. And in all fairness, I probably won't be paying a whole lot of. I'll be paying more attention to this than I would normally because of the fact that it's Emery, and I'm just really, I'll be wanting to see more of how we play.
Yeah, exactly. I think this would be the opportunity to actually start like giving the fringe players the chance. Like the likes of Welbeck will be probably starting each game. I imagine Leno will be starting the games as well. But then this is the chance for like lads like Nelson and Maitland-Niles and all these other lads to actually get into the team and show how good they can be. So yeah, I think Arsenal fans will be watching the Europa League games like at least like in a way to see how those fringe players are doing. Because like I said, a good performance on a Thursday could get you into the game for Sunday. Because it's always been the case for other teams as well. So it's definitely possible.
Celtic got a bit of a bum draw as well. They drew Salzburg and Leipzig in the same group.
Yeah, that's a shame. But that's what you get for kind of making a tits above the Champions League, really, isn't it?
Yep, pretty much.
Great character, lads, I must say. So, we're nearing the end of this edition of the Football Podcast, but it would be remiss of us to go into the interlull without talking about the interlull. The Nations League is basically the new competition on the block. It's incredibly confusing, but there is an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to it if you want to follow up on it. But basically the idea is that it's making friendlies fun. It's putting the fun in friendlies, even though it doesn't actually work. The idea being that essentially, depending on how you do in like these mini groups in these leagues, you might be able to get backdoor qualification into the Euros. That's it boiled down to its bare minimum. And the idea is that with every group that you have, that whoever's top of the group can get promoted to the next, level. Like there's 4 leagues, you can get promoted or relegated depending on how you finish in the group. And if you're top of those, like the A leagues already, you can go into a mini tournament in the summer and you basically play for fun, as far as I can recall. But then the the Euro qualifications start properly next year, and essentially whoever is, they basically take priority with the Nations League. Whoever's doing better than the Nations League can qualify through that instead of the Euros. That's basically the way it works. The best way to kind of describe it is it's like the backdoor qualification in GAA, but the opposite way around, where they're doing the backdoor system first and then doing the actual league qualification. It's a bit weird. It's a bit to get your head around, but it's actually I think the idea is supposed to make it more proportionate for smaller teams to get in. I think that's the logic of it.
Maybe, but the thing, I think one of the main reasons why I've not bothered really looking up how it actually fucking works is because the drama of the national teams around the Nations League has been so fucking brilliant.
Would you like to start with Denmark, Neil?
Yeah, with Ireland fielding a squad that basically I could get into, I reckon.
Oh yeah, I have a hot take coming up about that.
With a few months of training. The whole shit about Declan Rice, which I don't really give too much of a fuck about. We've lost James McLean to a fucking hand injury, which is a pain in the fucking crotch. Harry Arter being driven out by fucking Roy Keane, which is just so fucking great. The Danes, who smoked us 5-1, are fielding pretty much a team of amateurs. Led by none other than former Arsenal midfielder John Johnson.
Yeah. Good for him.
lot of older Arsenal fans' first memories of an Arsenal goal will be him. So a team that reached the last 16 of the World Cup this summer and are 9th in the FIFA rankings are fielding futsal players against Wales.
That's talent. That is, and it's all down to. And the worst thing about it is not. There's not even it's about like wages or strikes or anything like that. It's down to image rights. That's all it is. There's a dispute over players' image rights, and it's because of that now we can't even show a picture of a Danish footballer or we get sued. So they won't even have... What would be funny, actually, if they got the futsal players out for Denmark, but they just had little face masks of the Danish players. And now it'd be like playing like Pro Evo Soccer 2, wouldn't it? It'd be like fucking...
Yeah, they all come out wearing those V for Vendetta masks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's Wales versus Anonymous.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Expect us. So, Yeah, like it's been kind of baffling in a way, and there's other stuff as well happening with like I think like Serbia and Montenegro are in the same group as well in the Nations League, so they're facing each other.
They can't be that. Yeah.
No, that's gonna be fun. It's just like there's a lot of baffling little things like, and the beauty of it was like there was an outside chance just to bring this kind of back to home. Really, there was a very strong chance that we could have drawn Northern Ireland as well. So, because I think they were in the same pot as Wales. So, instead of getting Wales, which was the team that, like, you know, that I think Seamus Coleman would rather forget about, and then obviously the team that, like, whooped us out of the World Cup. Like I said, we could have easily got the North and then also Denmark. You know, we could have been royally screwed.
Yeah, but the thing is that Denmark could be okay right now because they're just fielding fucking futsal players.
Well, you say that, Neil. You fucking say that, but I have got some horrible, horrible stats to show you. So, I have done something that's quite dangerous for this podcast, and that is research. I try not to do it because it kind of gives off the impression then that we're trying to be professional, and I really don't want to do that. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about, and it's kind of touching on what you just mentioned there, is just how bad the Irish squad is at this moment in time. And you mentioned the three names there: Rice, Arthur, McLean. They're all out for different reasons. And
so is Alan Brown as well.
Yes, Alan Brown is just the most recent departure as well. And the most tragic thing as well is that McLean is not getting replaced in the squad. Like, we're not getting a new wide player in as far as I can see. We're just going with it, which is great because it's not as if we have a fucking wealth of talent in the wide areas. But, and like I said, this is also taking into account the injuries that we have, okay? Robbie Brady being the big one, the biggest injury we have. A lot of our forwards are injured as well, like Hogan, Shane Long as well. But the point I want to bring across is that the quality of the Irish teams have virtually plummeted in the last, I want to say, 6 years. And like colloquially, we know that. You know, we can kind of say that by looking at comparing the squads from the last few competitions. But I want to back them up with Rafa Benitez-like facts. So, here's the squad for the current Nations League 2018. Your keepers are Darren Randolph, Colin Doyle and Sean McDermott. You might not have heard of Sean McDermott. He plays for Kristiansund in the Eliteserien in Norway. Right?
Yeah.
He's our third choice goalkeeper. Kieran Westwood apparently doesn't exist. David Ford is too old. Paddy Kenny, I think, is currently working for the Hutches. So they're kind of occupied at the minute. Defenders. We have Stephen Ward, Seamus Coleman.
Actually, all right, the defender.
Very good defenders, yes. Defenders are actually probably our best set in the team at the minute. And that kind of backs up with the facts as well. So Ward, Coleman, Clark, Duffy, Cyrus Christie, Richard Keogh, Kevin Long, Matt Doherty, John Egan and Enda Stevens, who are playing for Sheffield United, who are red hot at the minute in the Championship. But this is where the shit starts to become drizzly. The midfielders. Jeff Hendrick, arguably probably our best midfielder in the squad at the minute. David Myler.
Isn't he our only Premier League?
He is the only Premier League midfielder in this current squad. If Arthur didn't have that fight with Roy Keane, he would be the other one. But Hendrick is our only Premier League midfielder, right? The others are Championship level: Myler, O'Dowda, Hurricane, Alan Judge, who's back from injury, Alan Brown, who was going to be in the squad, then he got fucking injured. Then we got Sean Williams, Daryl Horgan, who was at Preston, now he's playing with Hibs in the Scottish Premier League. Our forwards, I think, is the worst we've had in years. Johnny Walters, no fault on him, he's 35 years old, a cyborg, but now he's dropped down a league to Ipswich. Graham Burke, who just joined Preston from Shamrock Rovers, but he already was in the squad at Shamrock Rovers anyway. Aidan O'Brien, who is some fuck from Millwall, and Callum Robinson, who's just declared for Ireland, and he also plays for Preston. So we have, I think, 3 Preston players at the minute, and technically 4 because Horgan left to play in Scotland. It's ridiculous. And like I said, I want to compare that then even to the Euro 2016 squad, right? I won't go through the names completely, but the current team breaks down as this. We have 8 Premier League players, 7 of them are in defence, as you rightly said, Neil. 1 Premier League midfielder in Hendrick. The other 16 are outside of that league. 14 Championship and the 2 Scottish players and the 1 in fucking Norway. Now compare that to Euro 2016, which was arguably like not a bad squad per se, but we had 12 Premier League players in that, 10 of them in the Championship, and then the outlier being Robbie Keane playing in the MLS. Then compare that to Euro 2012, the disastrous one with Giovanni Trapattoni, you'll remember. 16 of those players were in the Premier League. Only 3 were in the Championship, right? And then I was even thinking further back, like to me, and this is probably a generational thing as well, but I always felt like the 2002 World Cup squad was like arguably our best squad we've ever had individually. You know, like take out like the World Cup 1994, a lot of them were still journeymen at the end of the day. But like I'm happy to be corrected on this. I think talent wise, the World Cup 2002 squad was the best we've ever had.
I'd say so, yeah.
So even comparing, you've heard the names I've said for 2018. I'll just read the names we have for World Cup 2002, right? And for indulgence, there's 23 names in this team, Neil. I'd like you to guess how many of them were playing at the Championship, or the First Division, as it was called at the time, right? So goalkeepers, we have Shay Given, Dean Kiley, and Alan Kelly. I know, who the fuck is he?
Jeez, I think 2 of them were, weren't they? Oh, one of them, but Given definitely was.
No, I'm talking about who's playing in the Premier League, sorry.
Yeah.
So how many out of the 23 were Premier League players, right? So we have Shay Given, Dean Kiley, and Alan Kelly. Defenders then, we have Steve Finnan, Ian Hart, Kenny Cunningham, Steve Staunton, Gary Breen, who we still all dream of a team of, Richard Dunn, Gary Kelly, and Andy O'Brien. So midfielders then, Roy Keane, before he fucked off, Jason McAteer, Matt Holland, Damien Duff, Kevin Kilban, Mark Kinsella, Stephen Reid and Lee Carsley. Then our forwards, Robbie Keane, David Connolly, Niall Quinn and Clinton Morrison. So out of those 23, how many of those players were Premier League?
I think about 12.
12. You'll be surprised to hear that actually 17 of them were Premier League. The only Championship players in that were Cunningham, Breen, Dunn, because he was playing for Man City at the time, before they got the money, Stephen Reid, Connolly and Clinton Morrison. 2 of them were Wimbledon.
That was pre-Abu Dhabi fucking City.
Exactly, yeah. And like Morrison was playing at Palace, which was like one of his like regular teams. Breen, Coventry, Cunningham and Connolly were Wimbledon players before they went bust. And obviously I mentioned Richard Dunn as well. So even without the rose tinted glasses, like when you really look at it at the sharp end of it, the bulk of the World Cup 2002 squad were still Premier League players and a good Premier League teams as well, like Newcastle, Leeds, Villa. They're all at the sharp end, like, you know, they're up there. But when you compare them to where we are, and you have to say there's only 2 or 3 players at the sharp end of the Premier League. Probably the Burnley players like Hendrick, Ward, and Seamus Coleman. Like, you can't really say that Kieran Clark, who's struggling with Newcastle, or Shane Duffy, who's fighting at Brighton, you know. Like, it's... I don't know if it's because the Premier League has got so big time now that Irish players are unfashionable, or just the talent has just dried up for us. And
it's the FAI.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like you have your 2 cents in that matter.
Yeah, but we don't have time to go into it. If you want to do it, I'll do a special. Yeah, it's the FAI. It's all just the FAI. It's all completely the FAI.
It is, and that's the frustrating part, really. Like I said, it's always the case when you have like such a weak domestic league, that all the players are basically obliged to move to get to basically try and get a living. But the problem with that is that you'll have this awful feeder system where you'll have these red hot Irish young players. Like every Premier League team has at least one good Irish player. Like we have Caoimhín Kelleher, Glenn McCauley. Those 2 players have been really highly rated in the academy. But let's be fair, Glenn McCauley's not going to like upend Roberto Firmino, and Caoimhín Kelleher is not hardly going to upend Alisson. So those players have a glass ceiling, and it's not because they're Irish, it's because there's too many of those other players in the academy. They have to go elsewhere. And that's the same case almost up and down the Premier League teams. You know, I think the one probably I suppose the one kind of like exception to that would probably be Seamus Coleman, because he came through from Sligo, through the Everton system, and stayed there. Otherwise you're probably looking at players like Christie, who kind of got in the Derby team that way. Darren Randolph, who had to wait for years to get noticed. And that's the kind of the same story over and over again, is that players have to wait like 6 or 7 years. They have to toil in lower leagues, and by the time they get to the National League, they're 27 or 28 and they're fucking jaded. You know what I mean? Because they've already had their prime. Or alternatively, you'll have players that have declared, like Robinson, Hogan, Arthur, and they're all English players that they just happen to declare for Ireland because they're not good enough for the English side. And that's basically what's happened, And yeah, it's down to the FAI, because the FAI is not doing enough to either promote the domestic game or to ensure that Irish players actually have a shout with proper teams.
It's all the latter. It's all there. Yeah, it's, if you want, I'll do something more on it, but it's all that the supreme level of what really, really good schoolboy, in particular, players that we used to always funnel out to the British leagues. It's simply just it's dried up,
Yeah, and that's basically what's happened. I mean, like, the numbers don't lie when it comes to that. Like, you're going from 17 Premier League players in 2002. 16 years later, we only have 8. And that's split between, like, Burnley have 3 of those players, really.
Yeah.
It's desperate, So, yeah, and the worst thing is about that, with the Nations League coming in now, we're up against 2 teams that have, like, okay, it kind of sounds stupid now, but they did have their ducks in a row. Like, Wales are doing so much better with so less people when you really look at it. Like, obviously, even take Bale and Ramsey out of it, but even the players they have outside of that are Premier League players and arguably playing in better teams, or at least they are, like, more set in teams as well. And what I like about the Wales team is that they bet in their young players early. They gave their first cap to Harry Wilson when he was 16, because they wanted to make sure he'd be playing for Wales in the future rather than playing for England. That's fucking forethought. Why weren't we doing that for Jack Grealish? Why weren't we doing that for Declan Rice? We should be doing that ourselves.
In all fairness, we used to do that in the past. I mean, we did that with Mark Lawrenson as well.
Yes, that's
when Lawrenson first got his first cap for Ireland, he was playing the 3rd division. Now his career might have been different if England had actually, were sniffing around him. He may have said, "I'll go with England instead." But England don't cap many players from the 3rd division.
No, that's the thing.
Same with Ray Houghton as well. I'm sure Ray Houghton only got into the Ireland team because fucking Jack Charlton went to Oxford to ask if John Aldridge would declare for Ireland. And over the course of that, inadvertently realised that Houghton's dad was from Donegal.
That's pretty.
That's an honest actual story.
No, I do agree with you on that, but like I said, that's the kind of annoying thing, is that, especially with the Grealish thing. Obviously, he probably felt himself he's more English than Irish, but there really wasn't much of a fight put up on our side to have this player, and I feel like we're going the same way with Declan Rice. Like, the FAI have kind of resigned the fact, he might be too good for the Ireland side. It was like, bollocks. The Ireland squad, look at back to 2002. This is the best squad we had. That we fucking knocked out. We knocked out the Netherlands out of that World Cup. And fuck it, if Keane was still there, we could have given that thing a really good shout. We could have probably got to the quarterfinals if we didn't get Spain.
Yeah.
In fairness, but that's the thing. Like, when you look at those things and look at 2002, that team was very, very good for its time. And now look at 2018 and they're all journeymen. They're all players that are either, like, okay, you can say that there's some players might turn up good, like Burke, I think, is a very good player. I've seen him live myself. Shawnee Maguire, who's injured as well. When he comes back from injury, I think he'll be a great player. Horgan, I'm a good fan of. But the kind of the common thread is that they're all League of Ireland alumni. They had to go back to Ireland to get their mojo back. So the system that the FAI have, or have not in this case, of basically exporting these players to youth academies and then looking in horror when they don't make it, it just does not work. And as you said, I don't think there's any reason for them to actually try any harder to improve these players at all. This is just the way it's going to be now for probably the next 10 years, if not more.
Probably won't be that for that long, but it's definitely. Although I will agree that it doesn't show any signs that it's going to improve. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this next Nations League round.
Because like I said, it's highly likely that by the time we get to Denmark, they'll have sorted out that players' row they have. If not, happy days for us, we might beat them 1-0. But for all intents and purposes, there's no way we could possibly beat Wales and beat Denmark with this squad. We're probably going to go down to the pot 3 area. We'll pop down to League 3 and then have to fight other teams outside of our remit then, the likes of fucking Bosnia or Serbia, who could very well be promoted by the time this comes out. So it's not looking good for us, really.
No.
Yeah. But so on that light note, we're going to probably wrap up this podcast. So we're going to be back in a couple of weeks. So we're trying to work this in a kind of like a fortnightly basis with the Premier League. So we'll be back after 2 Premier Leagues worth, or 2 match days worth of the Premier League. And we might chip in with the Nations League. There's probably not going to be much to speak about because it's a new format and everyone's trying to get their fucking head around it. So by the time we get back to you, we will have 2 Premier Leagues to talk about, 1 Champions League to talk about. We'll have a lot more than just the interlull to chat about. So, unless you have any closing remarks, Neil, would you like to tell John Delaney to go fuck off or anything like that?
Yep, pretty much. He can go fuck himself.
Excellent. Well, I think that works out just as well for an outro. So in that case, folks, we will see you in a couple of weeks' time with another edition of the Football Podcast. But for now, I have been Jonathan, that has been Neil, and we'll see you next time.